All right, I have 6:30, so we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the June 26th, 2023 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. We do not have a public hearing scheduled, so we'll roll right into new business. The first item we have for under new business is a presentation by Paul Lavoie of Horse Hill Nature Preserve regarding the new trail on the property. And yeah, if you would, sir, come on up. And again, I had reached out to Paul and the other subcommittees before our annual meeting, just about getting their feedback. I think that's something we'd like. I appreciate you being able to attend. Certainly, it's as good this week as it would have been 2 weeks ago. But I think that's an important part of our process where we may have missed that or not done it to the degree it should have been done in the past. And good that you're able to come in and talk to us about some of the priorities at Horse Hill and tell us about this new trail.
And let me add, when we start, the subcommittee fully backs what he's saying. We support the development.
There was collaboration before this effort. I assumed as much. So if you would, is your green, oh yeah, Cindy helps you out. Yeah, if you would just start out, say your name and address, if you would.
Hi, my name is Paul Lavoie, 24 Peasley Road. So I'm right next door to Horse Hill. We've been there about 32 years, so been wandering around there for a long time. Ed Nemba's looking to expand some of the trails in there. There's an area between Twister and Ledges that there's actually two old trails in there. One of them was the snowmobile trail, which has been closed off for quite a while, very wet. And there's another trail that used to start on Amherst Road and loop around, come back and go almost to the top of Blodgett Hill. When they built the new houses, part of that's actually on private property. So what we'd like to do is about 40% reuse of trails and 60% new trails. We've been out there several times with a bunch of different trail builders from NEMBA. It's about 1.4 miles in there as pretty much the perimeter, reusing quite a bit of the trails that are dry and that would be reusable. And the other part would be benching in, going up some of the hills, try and keep it a little bit of a straighter trail than some of the other mountain bike specific trails, so it's usable for runners and hiking, and just try and get a little bit less use on loop, which has gotten really worn out since the COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ellen, you as a subcommittee, you guys have reviewed this trail, walked this trail?
We've reviewed the trail. We do not have a map drawn up of it yet. We have not done a walk on that specific path.
Walked it, and that's.
Oh, that's okay. You and Mark did.
Perfect. It's a terrible rendition pulled off of Strava.
That's all right.
That's what we've got to work with.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Better technology than crayons.
So we'd
but-
like to get pointed in the right direction of what needs to be done.
Sure. Sure.
Here, hold on a second. This section is a separate
So-
trail?
Yes.
It's not part of this one.
That is not part of that trail, yes.
Sorry.
Oh, it's,
Where was the private property?
Private property is over this is the trail that would be reclaimed. This trail actually starts out, this is Amherst Road,
Right.
comes in on the snowmobile trail, loops up and went all the way up into here, then came up onto Blodgett. So we're staying, I stayed all the way inside of all the Horse Hill markers which is why that little squiggle there, I started heading down a hill and realized, hey, look at that, I'm on the wrong side of the,
So that's basically going to get cut off.
so that'd be cut off there, yes.
Perfect, thank you.
So where's that beginning and end there, the green dot and the soccer ball looking thing?
I'm sorry.
Where is this place and this place?
So this is the intersection of both ledges. So this is outer ledges,
not
this is
houses.
inner ledges,
Okay.
and this is the very beginning of Twister. Twister runs parallel to
So it's just
Loop
part of
and then
Twister?
goes up in there.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, because that's the one that comes from Amherst Road.
This is
It goes up and that's the snowmobile, just goes way over here in that private property. And they just cut it off.
Yeah, so ledges and Twister are on the loop is going on
Loop
this
goes,
side, or-
nope, Loop goes this way, Loop arcs on the complete bottom of that, yes.
Thank you.
And what condition is that trail in now? Is it, I mean, people are riding, or is it gonna take a lot to
No,
put it into
It
usable?
is, it was abandoned quite a while ago. We've all walked it, a couple of different groups. So the trail that was abandoned is actually in really good shape. And the snowmobile trail is almost completely clear. I was really surprised. We'd been out there in some of the wettest times too, just to see how bad it was. And the snowmobile trail, it's hard to believe that it's been abandoned for 10 years now, I think. There is a bridge there that would need a little bit of work, but it's only 2 or 3 boards. It's actually in much better shape than you'd expect it to be.
So one of the concerns we've had with bridges, particularly on this property, is because people do ride horses out there. And so
Yes.
if we build a bridge, it's got to be substantial or very low to the ground. Like you're just trying to get over a
So
wet
the
patch.
bridge that's there was built for snowmobiles. It's more substantial than a couple of the bridges that
Yeah.
are still standing, and it's still in pretty good shape. We would, I think it's the same old telephone pole, the structure that was put
Right.
in 20 years ago with the telephone poles.
Yeah. Creosote soak poles, great.
So when you say 60% new trail, are you talking, part of that is the old snowmobile trail? Like, it's not 60% cutting down trees.
No,
It's-
where
there's
I
kind of an
walk, there
existing-
is no trees that would be cut down. We try and minimize, we don't cut down trees.
Right.
Where we zigzag around trees, which sometimes is why mountain bike trails get a little bit weird. But walking through it, I've actually walked most of that with my dogs. So it's clear enough that, it's just a brush cutter going in.
Okay, so it's sort of a trail there now. It's not like you're,
There's no old,
Cutting
and
through.
we stayed away from, there's quite a bit of white birch on the high side, on the Twister side. We stayed as far away from that as we could.
Anyone else?
So what are we looking to do here? Let NEMBA do it, or are they going to be doing it as part of the subcom? How's this plan to work?
Is it a cooperative effort between you and NEMBA, or?
It would all be NEMBA volunteer work.
The subcommittee is, at NEMBA, it does have an insurance thing on file with the town. And they've always been very cooperative with this, in my experience, very cooperative with the subcommittee. And we all work together, or if they go in and do something, they give us a heads up and do not go beyond their brief.
Yeah, I mean, as an organization, NEMBA's been great. The work they've done up in Greater Woods and other parcels has been top notch. So
Right. So I don't see anyone registering any objections to this.
no, I mean,
No.
in general, Horse Hill has got a lot of trails, so, but I know you're not asking for a new trail every week, so,
Yeah.
This is
Do
actually an
understand.
attempt to balance the use that's coming in
Right.
now.
Yeah.
To moderate
we've-
some overuse.
I don't want to say
Makes
things have
sense.
settled post-COVID, but it's almost settled, and we have an idea of where people want to go now, and we would really like to balance the trail so that the bicyclists who use it can continue to use it, and the hikers can do it, and there's minimum conflict. And there hasn't been much. We'd like to keep it that way.
right, yeah, definitely. Okay. And I can't really picture where this is, but it's not near, like, the rookery, right? We're not going close to the rookery. Okay. Just checking.
do you have a GPX of this or some format that we can Because we're looking at having maps redone now, so
Okay.
if we're gonna add a trail, I'd like to,
That's a
I
good
can,
point.
yes,
Yeah.
I can
if
get
we
it.
could, if we
I
could get
can
that,
run that
either
on
get that
GPS.
down or something like that.
In fact, one of the
Yeah.
guys that that has been out there with me does all of the updates for the two major trail mapping.
Okay.
So he has a way of getting exact GPS coordinates. So I can bring Dan out there.
Because we do that through NRPC locally, so they monitor our maps for us, so that would be great to get that
Get that
GPX
to me
thing.
and I'll make sure it gets to community development and whoever else needs it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
probably should assign a name to this too, so they can put it on the new maps they're developing.
Did we,
Has that been
did the
talked about?
subcommittee have a name? I can't remember. We were kicking around old names for the trails and I don't remember if this one had it.
There was part of Sean called it Reclaimer.
Yeah. We'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Steve.
So, yeah.
That's a great point, though. Yeah, we are in the midst of a pretty lengthy remapping or refresh. That's great. Well, I appreciate you coming, Paul, talking to us about this trail, and you have our permission, our approval rather, to go ahead and work with them and get this trail established.
Thank you very much.
I'll
you.
include this when I give the minutes to community development. I'll include this and I'll say that there's a GPS version pending. That-
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, is Jeff LaCours here tonight? No. So we'll skip that. Next one was a vote to appoint George Theodoro to the Scholar Subcommittee. I think I saw George here, right? Yep. As a full member with a term to expire 6/3/26. I've met George. I've talked to George. Obviously, Mike knows George. George, you want to come up and just appreciate you coming tonight. Since we have you here, you would just say your name and address for the record. Just,
Yeah, you nailed the last name, Theodoro.
Mhm.
So that was good. 10 Bryce Drive, Merrimack. Been in town 11 years now, but we ended up buying my grandparents' house. So been on Bryce Drive my whole life, on the weekends and stuff. Started a landscaping business 3 years ago. Started really getting involved with UNH Cooperative Extension. Did the natural resource stewardship program in the fall. Part of that's a community service side of it. So they want us out there doing 40 hours, applying some of these kind of eco-friendly practices and educating. And so I found the Sklar Park Subcommittee. I've started getting involved over there since the spring. Started with one of their hikes with the kids and just a couple other little things, and I've liked the group. I know some people have heard other things, but it's a good group down there, and it's somewhere where I like to spend time. It's near the house. It's something that I think would be nice for my kids to feel like they got to be a part of building it too, as they set their roots in Merrimack. So it's been a fun little thing, and it's kind of looking to be involved.
Great. We appreciate everything you've done and continue to do. Anyone have questions for George? No, I'll make a motion to appoint George Theodoro to the Scholar Subcommittee as a full member with a term that expires on 6/30/26.
Second?
Motion by me, second by Mike. Any further discussion needed? No? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for
coming.
coming.
Thank you for your interest. All right, the next item, this one we really can't do. I know the town council retreat was this week, so we'll just push this to the next agenda item. Give Andy an opportunity to just give us some of the feedback. There were several items. I don't know if anyone looked at the agenda for that. Several items of interest on there. Again, I saw the topic of conservation officer was on there for one of the days. I don't know if that's just a placeholder from the previous two retreats but we'll hear about that at the next meeting. Andy, you had information on, or Ellen, sorry, you had information on e-bikes?
Did we skip over?
We skipped over Andy.
No, we skipped over Gage.
Oh, we did. I'm sorry. Wow. I have my glasses on and I'm still misreading my,
Yeah, so-
my agenda. Sorry, go ahead, Gage.
I've not had a chance to get into this too deep with the cooperative extension. I wanted to go through them. Last time we went over this topic, they pointed us to this website called EDDS. And it's an app you can put on your phone and you can just turn your GPS on, you can mark where you are, what you've seen, take pictures of it, and it uploads. So it just ends up becoming a national map because you can do it anywhere you are. And it just
For
uploads.
invasive
Yeah. So
species.
once you make your account, so you're not, they know you're not just doing something frivolous, but I'm just hadn't gotten back with Emma yet to see if that's what they're still using. I still want us to keep using that, but I still use it personally. So it still works. So I can include the link in the notes.
Right. Okay. And you're the power user for this group, I guess?
Anybody can make it.
You might be able to share that role. There's someone in the back row there that's passionate about invasive species also.
But
All right.
that's really the only update I have. It's not
Okay.
too in depth.
So e-bikes. Okay, back to you, Ellen. Information on e-bikes.
I think many people on the commission may already know this. I'm putting it on the record because I think we're going to have more use of e-bikes on our properties in the future, so we have some idea of what to expect. Under state law, there are 3 classes of e-bikes. Class 1 has an electric motor that provides assistance but only when the rider is pedaling, and the assistance cuts out at 20 miles an hour. A class 2 is throttle actuated motor, and that can assist only up to 20 miles an hour. Now, according to the terms of Chapter 111, our town ordinance, Class 3 is banned, but 1 and 2 is okay. Class 3 has an electric motor that provides assistance up to 28 miles an hour. Those are not allowed according to our ordinance.
I was
our
under
trails.
the understanding that only class 1 was allowed.
I believe in 111, it says there's to be no class 3, and it's silent on 1 and 2. However, under state law, local authorities can amend that if there's a problem. If it turns out in the future use of e-bikes seems to be causing problems in the property, damaging natural areas or whatever, we can ask the town council to revisit the ordinance. But for now, our Conservation Commission lands do allow class 1 and class 2. Anything with a motor over 1 horsepower, 750 watts, is considered an out-of-class electric vehicle and is regulated as an OHRV. We will find over time there are people who will bring their vehicles in under the impression that they are a class 1 or 2, and it's like, nope, you're a 3 or 4. I asked the Bike Walk Alliance of New Hampshire, which is a good resource on all matters regarding bike laws in the state, if there is signage, any kind of standard signage, and no, there isn't. If we just put up something at the trailhead saying, no class 3s, that's fine. Right now, there is no standard signage for use anywhere. But that's where we are. Class 1 and 2 is allowed. That can be revisited if we find it necessary.
Is there any markings on an e-bike that indicate what class it is?
I do not own one. I don't know.
There was not when they first started coming out. I don't know
Yeah.
now if they're changing.
It's a dynamic thing. The state.
Yep.
Yeah, come on up. We're bringing George back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, my dad has 2 e-bikes, and they're all over the spectrum right now. Mostly all imported, and so those can come basically branded any way you want. So I wouldn't imagine that you're gonna have an easy time, and I'm not sure people are really gonna know. I didn't know any of this,
Mhm.
you know. So that's all I was going to say was you're going to get them all over the board. I'm curious to look at and share this information with him now too.
Yeah, definitely. The Bike Walkers Alliance keeps up with it. The state didn't even have a law about it until 2019, so this is very much a dynamic thing.
Yeah, and they're, if you put a kid on one, they're fast and they can
Yep.
bump into someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're quiet, fast. Yeah.
We spent more time talking about e-bikes during chapter 111 than any other topic.
Yeah, because we didn't allow e-bikes for a long time on our,
Well,
on the
you can't,
property.
you
but-
can't, there's an ODPM, personal motivation device for people that need assistance. You can't say no. So it's,
The only way to bar one is if there's a natural feature that's being damaged,
Right.
or flora or fauna that are being damaged.
Yep.
Our regulation is limited, for conservation purposes, our regulation is limited to that, but we can ask the town council. to see that.
For class one.
Yeah.
And I know Mike was there. He sat with me when we presented to town council. This was the only topic.
you.
Thank you, George. This was the only topic that we encountered headwinds with town council with chapter 111.
Yeah.
And it's different members now, but I know they were.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
Next item, submitted by Mike Druin, request for funding to complete lawn mowing at the Scalar property. You want to talk to us about what you had in mind there, Mike?
So up until this point, I've been funding the mowing since I did it myself with Dave. The gas, the rental, stuff like that. Since I won't be doing it anymore, it needs to be figured out, because the last time I was there, 2-3 weeks ago with a hiking group, the grass was long enough and the poison ivy was too much, and I'm not gonna go back there with a hiking group. I can't, because I was having to point out the poison ivy as we walked way too much, and I felt really bad because 3 of the people had shorts. So, that Sklar is majority floodplain, well, about half of it, and all but one trail is in that floodplain, and the soil is really, really sweet, I guess you could call it. So there's not really any pine trees. It's mostly thick grasses and floodplain plants that grow really quickly. And the mowing has to be done every 3-4 weeks. So
have you ever put a request into DPW for this or not?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But we had a company that was going to volunteer to do it. They came down and said the trails aren't in good enough condition to do it because of the ruts. For the machine, it was too wide for the ruts.
What were you mowing with?
I push more.
Just a regular push mower?
Yeah.
I think part of the problem here is the frequency, that it has to be. It's not like you can just do it twice a year, right? It has
No,
to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I slacked on it last year and ended up needing a brush hog to get through it because the push mower was clogging up every foot.
Yeah, that's a lot of maintenance.
It's but the poison ivy down there is ridiculous.
Which trail is it on, Mike?
It's on
Is it on
Riverview.
Cottontail?
Riverview,
Probably, yeah.
mostly Riverview along the
It's bottom one mostly.
yeah. So there are parts of the trail that don't need it because it's either more clay soil or something like that. But the majority of it, it's very dense grasses and poison ivy patches. Lots of ticks. So, and that's the most heavily used trail too, Riverview. So I was hoping with the increased use it would pack it down, but it hasn't happened. It's like a space this wide in the middle of the trail that is packed down. So, and in parts of the trail, you can't tell the difference between the ruts that we closed off and the actual trail, and that's a problem as well. So by mowing it, it defines the trail, so the ruts are allowed to, be revegetated.
Just in terms of, what was your recommendation to how to approach this?
Well, I don't imagine DPW is willing to push mow it. They would want to do it with their machine. If they did it with their machine, we'd have to improve the trails, which means filling ruts, which would mean a lot of fill and labor. So I think the best way to do it would be having one of the subcommittee members do it and reimburse up to a certain amount. Because the cost is always changing depending on Home Depot's rental.
I think we'd have to talk to DES or someone to see what the stipulation is for adding fill in a floodplain. Because that's probably not, you may be getting into AOT territory.
Yeah, I don't think you're asking to do that.
No, I'm not.
Well, no, I'm just saying, but I mean, just trying to make this long, I mean, you bring up a good point. It's a high maintenance. I mean, and to stop that would be getting it to a point where it can be easily mowed or easily handled. That might be a chore.
And even with a push mower, it's a bit difficult because sometimes you'll slip into a rut.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're having ruts enough that you can't just mow it, push mowers.
And those push mowers are really heavy.
And I would imagine this area floods occasionally, like every
Actually,
few
it
years.
doesn't really flood as much. I imagine right now.
I was gonna say, take a look tomorrow.
Yeah, I imagine so.
It was probably underwater in 2013.
But it could go a few years without a flood event. It could go twice a year. It's completely random. Usually lasts about 1 to 3 weeks
But I guess my point is,
in December.
if you put something there, would a flood take it away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of renting it, I don't think I'm being guilty of over complicating this, but if the town or town funds are renting a piece of equipment or paying for a piece of equipment, then during that period of time, that becomes a town piece of equipment, which would mean the user is then on the town's insurance. So it's no longer a volunteer initiative. It's no longer someone, Mr. Smith, doing this on his own out of the goodness of his heart, his or her heart. Then we can ask that question.
Yep.
What would it take to? I'm pretty sure that it's going to say that the person needs to go through that certification process to get added to the insurance.
And I believe that things with DPW have turned over in the last year, and it may be time to renew some inquiries that had been made before. I would really like for someone from DPW to take a look at that spot now and evaluate, do they have the time and personnel to do this? Because if it's an appropriate spot to keep a trail clear, let's find out what the town can do.
Yeah, I mean, is there another way that the trail can go, or?
To bypass that?
No, it goes the smoothest way possible and avoids most of the ruts. We're trying to revegetate the ruts right now. We planted a lot of the seedlings in there, and we fenced it off with some chicken wire, and they've been very successful so far. So
Well, it just sounds like having gas and oil down there that often makes me a little nervous about, and there could be any leakage, especially if you hit a lot of things underneath and then it's going right into the river. I'm just wondering, there's got to be some, I don't know, alternative. It just doesn't seem feasible to have to mow it
We could chemically
Every-
treat it.
3 to 4. No, spray it. Jeez, no.
Pave it.
Yeah, pave it. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of things we could do. Chemical treatment, some sort of a packer machine.
Do you know how long it takes for you to mow this area? Maybe how much gas you?
Around 3 hours.
3 hours, okay.
Yeah, well, and we did talk about reimbursing people in the past. And remember, we kind of said, no, that's not something the commission does. If somebody's going to go out there and do stuff, they're volunteering their time. And I don't know that anyone mows at any of the other properties. I think we rely on the town.
Ellen's got a
I-
good idea. Maybe it's time to ask the town to
Yeah,
go
we definitely should.
reappraise it.
Yeah.
I want a 2023 answer to a 2020.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Sklar's unique because a lot of it's floodplain and it does go under the Merrimack River at certain points. So it has that special fertility that other properties don't have.
Steve, if you send something to them about this mowing, could you remind them about Greater Woods,
Yeah, mowing the bypass trail.
Gateway and
Great.
Red Maple? They're supposed to be on their list, but
Mhm.
just remind them.
All right, so I'll send off that request tomorrow. Anything else on this? All right, let's skip over the next one. We'll move on to EPA public hearing regarding permanent operating permit for Saint Gobain. So we added this item to the agenda. There was a public hearing that took place in Merrimack Wednesday night. I know Gina was there. A majority of the town council was at it. The town manager was at it. The slides, the presentation's available online. We weren't asked specifically to give input to this, but we are in a public hearing period, which ends this Wednesday. And so I wanted to make sure this was on the agenda, make sure everyone was aware this would happen. I can think of, a couple suggestions that we could decide as a group to do nothing. We could just, as individuals, everyone, your residents of Merrimack, your residents of New Hampshire, individuals are certainly welcome to provide feedback as an individual to this public hearing, public comment process. Or if we had some sort of consensus that we felt a certain way, we could draft a letter. It would have to be done pretty quick. I'd have to leave here tonight knowing what our consensus opinion is. And it's all regarding the emissions permit. I guess I should have said that up front. So it's what DES is taking public comment on is whether or not to issue a permanent emissions permit or operating permit for Saint Gobain. Did anyone watch it? Did anyone do a bit? You did?
Yep, I didn't.
You want to fill us in on all the
I
details I
wasn't
left
able
out?
to attend in person, but I did watch it. And they actually extended the comment period to July 5th.
Oh, they
So,
did? Okay.
Yeah, we have a few more days. And it's actually for 5 years. I thought it was permanent, but it's actually only for 5 years. I mean, it is our water, and we're, tasked with taking care of our water. I mean, they're still polluting. It's not zero coming out of the stack. I think we should oppose it. And if they don't oppose it or deny the permit, then ask for it to be reevaluated in a year instead of 5 years.
Yeah, I agree. The PFAS contamination is widespread. It's Litchfield, it's all around there. I've been to homes off of DW Highway where their water was shut off. They had bottled water for a while, and we had to extend, I think the town had to extend lines, down to some of these people. So there's a big impact. I don't know where the PFAS is coming from, but half my neighborhood, this is in BB Lane, half of us are over the limit. Yeah, so I got a reverse osmosis filter. I don't know I'm not saying it's coming from there,
Right.
but it's a big problem.
Yeah.
And also should be aware, I think the state program is still going on, but they will rebate you if you apply for a filter. If you're over the threshold that the state has set, which is, I'm not going to say it because I'm not sure what it is.
Are we 80 parts per million now?
14.
I think it's less than that.
Or
now.
federal is 80?
Yeah, state reduced
It's been
it.
reduced, yeah, but hopefully it's zero at some point. you
Yeah,
know?
it's a big impact on Merrimack and neighboring towns.
I have not read the report yet or looked at the video, but I'm very concerned about a 5-year permit for a company that we know has ongoing, we have ongoing concerns about it. There's a lot of trust that needs to be rebuilt, and I think more frequent testing would go a long way towards that. I'm really not ready to sign off on a 5-year extension. And I don't know if we're in a position to do anything as a conservation commission, but I'm certainly going to say that as a private individual. I assume that these are comments to DES, is that correct?
It is.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
was
okay.
to Catherine Beam, who was the one that gave the presentation
Thank
at DES, specifically with the Air Resources Division.
Yeah, if you go to Merrimack TV,
Yeah.
then it's listed there. That's where I
And-
watched it.
And we can do all these things and provide these comments as individuals that we've talked about and do nothing as a commission. But it is kind of relative to our charter. Eric? Gage? Thoughts?
I didn't watch I haven't watched the hearing yet.
I haven't seen the whole thing, but you know, we've already shut down one of the town wells because of this. We're looking at to build another one to supplement. So I mean, I like you said, I mean, this is one of our tasks is water resources, and I think we're, you know, kind of right in mind. There's no way you can say, oh yeah, this is a great idea to pull forward in, you know, 5 years. You know,
I was surprised. I didn't hear that part where it was 5 years. I thought it was permanent. Like,
Well, if you listen to Paul McCally's comments, that
Yeah.
he brought up the permanent, and then they explained, and I don't pretend to understand a lot of what they all said, but just on the time, the way it's written, it appears to be permanent, but they told Paul, no, it's really for 5 years.
oh, okay. I missed that detail.
Yeah. It was in the afterwards, in the comments afterwards. That,
I guess because Ellen
Clarifying
mentioned too. I guess
questions.
my instinct. I'm sorry. Did you have?
Oh, yeah. I think if a private individual were to do this kind of damage, it wouldn't just be denial of permits for them. And we still don't know the damage it's going to cause to the wildlife in town. We know that it might have serious health consequences for pets. So we'll see in the coming years, but I don't think they should be allowed to operate anywhere near us, if at all.
I guess. And I watched 60% of that presentation. I didn't watch all of it, but I guess it does appear that the current proposal meets the current federal guidelines, and it does meet the state guidelines. So to deny it outright, I feel is a little disingenuous, because if you're gonna deny something, you should tell them what they need to change to get this permit. To Ellen's point, I think you said too, I just had a problem with the length of it. Maybe this should be something that's reviewed every other year or every year.
Aren't there 2 different scrubbers that they considered putting in their stack? And
this is originally not.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is back a couple of years ago.
Right.
And then they went with one takes out 99 something percent, one takes out 95% or something.
There was, I remember something, but I don't,
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't remember
Yeah.
the exact, so I'm not gonna.
I'm not, yeah, I don't remember, yeah.
Parts
As
of
a
it got
commission,
pretty
Can't we
scientific.
just say we oppose any pollutant going into the
Okay.
water, even if it's different, you know? I mean, we have no salt areas in town.
Mhm.
You know, can we say we have a no PFOA area? You know, we would like to have a no PFOA area.
And this would be for products, which they do there, which contain PFAS. I mean, that doesn't mean
Well,
they can't do
there
other
is the
things.
problem, is we're still manufacturing
Right.
in society. The problem isn't St. Cobain, the problem is we're still, as a society, making
It's,
materials.
As,
you know,
as
it's
of
relatively
now,
recently, they were actually able to measure the molecule and air pollution that size.
Mhm.
So this could have been going on for years and we never knew because
Still making carpets.
Yeah.
We're still making raincoats,
non-stick bands.
non-stick pans.
you could choose not to buy, but.
Mhm.
Well, even on their website, it links to something that talks about, these are the products that, you know.
Well, I will say, as someone who has not watched the presentation and read the documentation, I am not qualified to do a straight up or down on whether to accept the permit. But I have no hesitation in saying that any review period should be limited, say 1 year.
Do we all agree with that?
1 year?
We do?
Yeah.
Would you, we like to collectively, would you like me to?
What's gonna be the teeth though? So in 1 year, they do a test and they find what? And that means,
If 1 year is part of the permit process, they have
Yeah.
to answer to DES. So that would be a matter of whatever the state, whatever teeth the state has in the process, and I don't know what that is.
I think there's enough to not known about this technology and just how to test for it, how to remove it from emissions. I just think that we'll, I would hope that we continue to know more and more, as well as the health risks. At least it comes up annually to review. If the regulations change, they have to remain compliant. I guess that was my only, a more periodic process to review that. If there's better technology a year from now, they have to go back before DES and become compliant with that new technology. Like that. And of course, you're all welcome to watch this, and anyone, and send their own feedback. And the person's name is Catherine A. Beam, BEAHM, and that's Catherine with a C, at des.nh.gov. We good? Our last item under new business. As it strikes a somber tone, but we have to handle this business. We want to wish well to the four members who are moving on to other endeavors. Mike Druin, Mike Boisvert, Cindy, and Gina. We're finally releasing Gina. But we certainly, I won't even try to thank you appropriately for everything, for all your volunteerism, all your selflessness. But yes, we wish you well. Please don't be strangers. We'll see all you on the Saturday before Mother's Day at Curry Orchard. And hopefully we'll bump into each other
in the woods.
in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting rid of big gauges.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry Gina's not here, but just as someone who stepped into her shoes as secretary, I want to thank her very much. She was very generous with her time, even when she couldn't attend meetings.
Mhm.
I'm still learning, but she was a tremendous help.
Certainly. Anyone else?
Still calling you when we do duck boxes.
Yeah.
We get someone to go test the ice for us.
Wow, good spot.
Yeah.
Can I give a quick thing on the soil?
Absolutely. On the what? Oh,
So he didn't.
did I skip that too?
That's I keep
We should number these next time instead of bullet them. That way you
Yeah.
check where you
Keep
are.
me on track.
On June 15th, our town was visited by the Sauhegan River Local Advisory Committee. This is made up of people from each of the towns along the Sauhegan River corridor. The members are nominated by the town council, recommended to the DES, who then names the people. And they try to have meetings at the different towns, rotate their meetings among different towns. And on June 15th, they came here. I was there, as were Andrew and Karen from the Wildcat Falls Subcommittee. Nelson Disco, who many of you know, is our town's representative to Sorlac. His term is ending. George May is another Merrimack resident who is on it. Anyone interested in learning more about Sorlac or applying to fill one of Merrimack's slots, go to the Nashua Regional Planning Commission website, nashuarpc.org, and click on about committees and related organizations, and you can learn more about it. What we did was go to Watson Park and look at the river there, so they could get in, because not everybody on Sorlac has been to Merrimack before. We talked about the possibility of a trail that the town center committees talked about extending from Watson eventually down to the Everett, connecting to Wildcat. Everybody agrees that's a good idea. The town center committee does, Conservation Commission does, Sorlac does. And then we went to Twin Bridges Park to take a look at Babusick Brook to see that. But they are always happy to welcome people to their meetings, and if someone from Merrimack would like to serve, either talk to a town councilor or read about it on the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you for being such a gracious host to them too.
You kidding? A chance to go. It's been cooking here. Sign me up.
Before we get to other business, I did jot something down regarding that DES wording. I just want to make sure it's only a few sentences. Let me read it and see if this sits well with everyone.
Is this for Cobain?
Yeah. Yes. I had three different options here because I wasn't sure what our consensus was, but I think this one's pretty close. We appreciate the work that the New Hampshire DES has done, specifically the Air Resource Division, to safeguard against future contamination at this site. While the presentation given in Merrimack on June 21st, 2023 offered reassurance that the facility is operating in compliance with state and federal regulations, we also understand that as more becomes known about PFAS compounds and the associated health risks, the rules and regulations should also continue to evolve. The MCC has concerns/reservations about granting a permanent operating permit to St. Gobain Performance Plastics. Our preference would be that an operating permit with a 1-year term be issued instead to ensure that reoccurring review of the emissions control equipment continues to occur at reasonable intervals. Fair enough? Okay.
We have reservations about the permit. I don't know if I'd say the permanent operating permit.
Just reservations about the operating
Permit, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Not the permanent. But thank you.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Other business. The rules of procedure. We tabled that on 5/22/23. I did ask Tim Thompson for some feedback regarding the only recommendation we wanted was to amend the membership paragraph to allow us to, like in follow the Park and Recs model where we have a student representative. So his feedback was that it's doable. Let me read specifically what. He ran it by the town's attorneys. What probably statutory, in terms of statute compliance, it's not possible for this person to be a voting member because they can't comply with the 3-year term restrictions. And there's probably also not a guarantee that the person is over the age of 18, although I'm not completely clear that that's required. He did say that if we wanted to have a student as a non-voting attendee, they can come and they can participate in all our meetings. And that was something that we could do. Now, I know in our packets, we all have a copy of the bylaws. I'm sorry, the rules of procedure. So some of the things that we would have to change is in that Article 4 membership, under A. I think we would want to change the number of alternate positions to 2, to not grow the total membership to more than 10, because there's a portion of the town charter that kind of spells out that our membership will consist of 10. And haven't been a lot of amendments made to the town charter. That might be a long and lengthy process. Do you know, Gage, what that entails? Does that entail public hearings and?
Yes, we'd have to go up in front of town council and basically have a case. But if we're not going to, I mean, if they're not gonna be a voting member, they're just an alternate. And I don't want to, that's the wrong way to say it. I should say just an alternate. If they're going to be an alternate, a representative, what official capacity do they have? They can't ever come stepping in for anybody. They can't ever be a voting member.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we need to, can't they just be here
I agree with
as a student
We can
representative?
welcome a student to sit up here.
Mm-hmm.
We can put in a 6A that, student representatives will be participating members, non-voting
Yeah.
participating members when available.
And they're allowed to be on the subcommittees,
Mhm.
correct?
And our 3 alternate,
That's true.
it's still, because they can't ever be a voting member, so
So maybe,
just write them in. It's like, when student representatives are available as, non-voting participants.
mm-hmm. Still with the 1-year term and an appointment?
Yes. Yeah, I would think we'd have to make it somewhat official.
Yeah.
So you'd want to get like a recommendation from the school or something like that of people that are, valid, good candidates for this.
Mm-hmm.
like an internship.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do like an A1 type thing,
A what?
a little A1 sub.
Oh,
Version
I see what
under
you
A.
mean. Yeah. Anyone else? Ideas? Thoughts? Feedback? All right, well, let me propose it that way then. I hadn't thought about that.
Are we talking about other changes to this right now, or?
We did at the annual meeting? Why? Is there something?
Well, we were told that we no longer have anything, there's no such thing as ex officios.
Oh, yeah.
That's only a town council.
Yeah, is that in our bylaw?
Oh, yeah, we have say ex officio all over the place.
I only saw it in, under Article 4 membership.
Yeah, so, well, let's think, so that's just gonna be changed to member or whatever.
Well, we still
Commissioner.
we still have a town council ex officio.
Right, yes, but that's the only person that could be ex officio. We don't have ex officios to our subcommittees. There's no such thing as an ex officio to the subcommittees, which,
Yeah, is that, that's still in
so
here?
we should just go through and make sure we've got that taken out.
Mm-hmm. And in the,
And because probably in the subcommittee bylaws,
Yeah.
probably say ex officio
mm-hmm.
in relation to the member that sits on the board.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
this has gotta we gotta change, down and down.
I think Horse Hill did that already, just saying.
You go,
All
girl.
right, so we have some more work to do here. Starting with, I'll take this new idea, back to, who at the school, would it be the superintendent's office? Would it be the school board?
I'm starting with the school board,
Okay,
and she's already aware, so.
okay. Because I think that's what, the way it's written in the park
Yeah.
and recreation charter is that it calls it the organization. It says the organization will recommend that member, that student representative. Okay. Excellent. All right, well, we'll leave that on the table hopefully for the next meeting, we can have a little more feedback and we'll try to massage this and get all the ex officio talk out of it. A reminder about RSA 91.0 colon A. This is good for anyone that's new and even those of us who have been long on the commission long enough to know better. We just have to be very careful. If ever there's an email, like I sent out something last week, I resent out the inventory of wetlands, the one that we got from GZA. Those sorts of things, please just, if you have a reply or a question with something like that, no one did this wrong. I'm not singling anyone out, throwing anyone under the bus. But if I send that out to the whole group, using the Concom email, if you have a question, just reply back to one person. Just reply to me or forward it to Gage or anybody. Because the moment you reply all to that, if there's dialogue, it becomes, in essence, is a meeting that occurred online, which isn't fair because it wasn't on an agenda. Members of the public didn't have an opportunity to know that was going on. It violates many of the facets of the right to know legislation.
Along that same line, if you can go into your settings, you can choose not to download the emails to your personal computer. So they stay on the town server. And that way, if someone does a reply all, your personal machine never has to be turned over for investigation on a right to know problem. I mean, not that anyone's really right to know. There's nothing we really cover that's all that crazy, but
Right.
just as a general, practice.
It's good to know. Is there anything else under other business?
Yes. So, at last meeting, there was a motion made to renew the terms of me and Dave on the Scholar Subcommittee. Failed. We would like to respectfully request it be reconsidered. A lot of the subcommittee members are here as well in the back row. Request that as well. It would require a person that voted against it, which everybody did, so.
Yeah, although the bylaws are silent on the issue, according to Robert's rules and other parliamentary guidance, the only way that reconsideration would happen is if one of the members who voted not to renew those appointments were to make a motion to reconsider that, at which point we would put that on the next agenda. Or is everyone here at that meeting? I think so, yeah. Am I hearing a motion?
I can, if you have to give you 60 seconds from my point of view.
Mhm.
You guys want
It's on the agenda, you're welcome, come on.
Well, it's not really on the
that's the thing.
agenda.
Oh, you're right, it isn't on the
Well,
agenda.
no, I'll keep it.
But we
I'll
can-
keep it short. So I went back and I watched the video of that last meeting, where there were several other meetings mentioned. I went back and I watched about 5 meetings, I can tell you that maybe the version of Mike you guys see in this room is different than the version of Mike that we get down at Sklar Park, and same with Dave. I think they're in a tough spot trying to manage, some individual resources and maybe not enough from DPW, maybe not asking enough for DPW, whatever the problems are, and we can diagnose them a million ways. One of the things that I think could be a solution is, keeping them in the Sklar Park subcommittee. They do a ton of the work that we rely on. None of us have the bandwidth to set up these hikes and events where we can show up and volunteer. So with them gone, it's going to throw everything off, really slow things down there. I spoke to Steve about, maybe I can be the one communicating back and forth between the subcommittee and the Conservation Commission. It just seemed like a little bit of a issue, and sometimes sharing information back and forth maybe was an issue. So, part of joining this subcommittee was really because it was run well. It was a good group of people. People like Mike is really, really smart. He knows a lot. And approaches things the same way I would, through like an ecological lens, which I really appreciate. So I just think that I watched the videos. I understand where the comments came from the committee here. You know, I can just leave it at that. But I think I'll benefit. They'll benefit. The park will benefit from having the two of them. Even the same approach you guys want to take with St. Cobain. Give them a year. Give them 6 months. Let's maybe give it a trial. But you know, now that I'm more aware, and I didn't realize that it was going to lead to, you know, but I'm happy to get involved and try to fix some of the communication issues that I think are just at the core of this. But I think that the boots on the ground work they do is really, really a benefit to the town.
Thank you, George.
I think at a minimum, we're 2 meetings away from being able to deal with this, because we're not really even supposed to be talking about it now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
And
not.
no one's making a.
Yeah, I'm not trying to shut this down. I'm saying, but
Yeah.
it needed to be agended
Mhm.
so we can discuss it.
Yeah,
And
and
it's-
the only way it can, Tim's advice was the only way it goes on an agenda is if someone wants to make that motion to reconsider.
Right, but I'm saying is we right now,
Yep.
we're talking about
Right.
something that's not on the agenda, which we've been warned now a number of times, don't do that.
And I
So
don't see
I-
anyone
I'm-
making a motion.
Well, that's like even before that, I think we have to put it on the agenda to make the motion.
It's not what-
Like
You,
we have
you
to,
may be right. That's not the
to
advice
be
I got.
talking about it right now, we should have it on the agenda.
Yeah, that's
You know
not
what I'm
the
saying?
advice I got from Tim.
So Mike, I would expect that I would want you to put this on the agenda for the next meeting so we can discuss it. Right now, I don't believe, we've been warned about this now a number of times.
No, but with this one specifically, Gage,
Okay.
Mike asked for it to be on the agenda. Tim said no, do it under other business
Oh, okay.
because,
All right.
yeah. It was,
That's-
he said,
yeah.
because someone has to, one of the members that voted at the last meeting has to be the one to recommend it for reconsideration. But I don't see anyone making that motion anyhow, so let's move on to the minutes. Which were lengthy.
No kidding.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of last meeting. Do I need a date? What was the date?
May 22nd.
May 22nd meeting with the following changes.
Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Cindy. Anyone?
I'll second.
No, Cindy seconded it. Yeah. Dave.
On page 1, row 36, I think Ellen said she didn't know if they were in a position to table the application. Okay. Um, I didn't have many. One more. Oh. On page 10, row 416, just take, at the end of the sentence, just take out the D off of shed. So it would just be she asked. I think that was you again, Ellen. And then page 13 on row 561, just take out until. Yep. And that's all I had. Good job as always.
Yeah, big thumbs up to Stephanie in
Yeah.
community
Yeah.
development who plowed through a lot of stuff to
Yes.
yield this.
Yeah. There were a lot of material there.
Yes.
Find anything. Anyone else? No, motion to approve the minutes? Motion carries 6-0.
Yes, very much appreciated because I think some towns have to take their own minutes, so. Very fortunate.
We used to have to.
It's almost gonna be sad, but one of you needs to make a final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion by Cindy, second by Mike.
If we don't vote in the favor, they have to stay on.
We'll give them the Rosati program. We'll keep them around for another year against their will.
Yeah, right now.
All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0.